time to observe.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, Dad. Oh, I had a friend, shout out to, she was someone who used to teach me, and she had the best dad joke I've ever heard. She wanted to get a tattoo of a thermos, and you know how occasionally when you get a new tattoo, someone's like, "Oh, can I touch it? Can I?" And she wanted to say in the world's most dad joke ever, "No, don't touch the thermostat." It was like top tier dad joke. Oh, wow. So good. Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Anyway, I revealed her plan, and hopefully she doesn't hate me for it.
Yeah. Well, I have, my news is that I'm wearing the first piece of NASA swag ever that I've ever owned. Yeah, my wife went and got me the shirt, the NASA shirt. So
let's see. Very nice. Good job, dude.
My first piece of NASA swag. So
have you finally given into the popularity of it?
I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
My brother's always looked for those blue jumpsuits that they wore on some of the shuttle missions. So if anyone has a link to getting those light blue jumpsuits, he would be extremely grateful.
Yeah, those are super cool. Well, the astronauts wear them in training too, or I think they wear them when they fly the T-38s.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We need to get some Rask jumpsuits. Regardless, it's now 3:30, or depending on where you are, it is time to get going. And time for John and I to stop talking about which pieces of NASA swag we want. So welcome everybody to our last session with Explore the Universe. I'm so excited. Oh, we have someone from Portage la Prairie here. Oh, that's cool. Hey, Graham. My brother has done work up there. Thanks everyone for joining us. This will be our last session for Explore the Universe, and we're really excited to have you all here. This time we're talking about winter observing, and I am surprised throwing in an extra target because, as you heard, I'm sure through the news channels, they found water on the moon, on the side of the moon facing us, which is very exciting. So they found that water in Clavius, which is a crater that is actually technically part of Explore the Universe that I did not talk about because I thought it would be difficult to find because it's in amid a bunch of other craters at the bottom of the moon. So we're going to hand it over to John to tell us how to deal with that.
Well, Clavius is famous from 2001: A Space Odyssey, because that's where the base was.
Is it?
Yeah. Anyway, no, super cool place. And I think some of the one of the early NASA surveyor probes landed there and took like this cool panorama, and it was one of the first like panoramas on the lunar surface. So before humans landed there. Cool. So lots of exciting stuff, continues to occur around that crater. And so SOFIA, which is an airborne observatory. So it's a giant telescope. It's an infrared telescope that flies in the stratosphere on the back of a 747 aircraft. It was doing some spectronomy. I always
Isn't it spectroscopy?
Exactly. I knew I'd say the wrong one.
So close though. Good try.
Yeah, just to confirm some measurements that have been done, I'm guessing by the LRO, which is the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is a spacecraft with lots of fancy instruments that orbits the moon, and then another spacecraft as well. And so with those three observations combined, they're confirming H2O at a high probability, low concentration in that part of the moon. But it's still exciting news because it is, again, not in the shadows. It is on sort of the sun, where it gets direct sunlight. So and that's sort of where you want to be. Like if you're having a moon colony, you don't want to be in the shadow. You want to be where you can stick your solar panels up. And now if you can stick your solar panels up and collect your water at the same time, that's pretty darn cool. So
I'm going to quickly show, before you dive into what it is, I'm just going to quickly show what SOFIA looks like, because I think it's so cool that they just shoved a telescope in a plane and then opened the side and we're like, okay, we'll look at stuff now. It blows my mind that it can be steady enough to get those kinds of observations.
Yeah, so it's steadied with really, really fancy gyroscopes.
Oh, the telescope itself?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
cool.
It's on like a floating gyroscopic platform, and
it's so cool. And the plane also flies a lot higher than most commercial aircraft, so it usually flies around 44,000 feet, I think.
Yeah, it flies pretty high. Yeah. Mm-hmm. the last time I was in San Francisco when I was leaving there, I was on an airplane beside the lead scientist from Sofia, or one of the lead
Oh, okay.
scientists. So his name is Dr. Angerhausen. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, super. He had more NASA swag than anyone I've ever seen. He was literally like covered in that. He like had big headphones on, and even the headphones were covered in NASA swag.
And as we all know, we should measure our worth by how much NASA swag we have.
Yeah. So I'm a
kidding,
worth
don't
of
do
one.
my best NASA
one
swag. I'm not wearing it. I'm not wearing it right now, but I have a Neutral Buoyancy Lab shirt, which isn't sold online. I had to go there to get it. It's pretty cool.
Oh, you've been to the Neutral Buoyancy Lab?
Yeah, I tried to
AKA
con them into
the
letting me work
pool.
there. Yeah, it's so cool. That's where they test. They have the mock-up of the International Space Station underwater, and the astronauts go in the pool and try stuff out, which is just so cool.
My cool fact about that is it took them a month. There's so much water. It took them a month to fill it.
It's massive. Anywho, we're getting off topic. John, can you show us how to find clavius on the moon?
Oh, can you bring up a map? Or wait, did I just open to the page? I did.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. So if you're looking at with the binocular view, although this crater is really hard to pick out with binoculars, it's right on sort of the South Pole. Really easy to pick out with a telescope, though. It's really prominent. So I feel like it's probably the most prominent crater on sort of the southern region. And what's cool about it, not only is it one of the bigger ones, it's got sort of a Fibonacci sequence of craters that sort of circle the inside, getting like progressively smaller in this really cool arc. So if I push this way up here, if you can see what I'm talking about.
I can share an image later.
Yeah. So it looks, it's very prominent. And because it's sort of at the south as the Terminator, I feel like you get a good 7 or 8 days of being able to see it just because of how the Terminator sort of wraps around, that part of the moon, so close to the pole. Anyway. Clavius.
I'm not entirely sure. So the problem that I had with it when I was like, let's skip that one when we're doing Explore the Universe Online, is that the south side of the moon has a lot of craters in it.
Yeah, it's a busy place, but anyone that like is trying to photograph the moon with their phone, doing that like video technique, if they're pointed at the southern sort of tip of the moon, they're usually focusing on Clavius because it's just so prominent. So if a lot of the pictures of the south, they're like, here's my picture of Clavius.
Okay. And there's that like curve that John was talking about. So in a telescope, I feel like you could easily identify it because it has that unique series of craters on the inside of the bigger crater.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it'd be really hard with binoculars. So this is what irritated me a little bit about all of the news feeds being like, it's like this giant, super easy to spot crater. And it's like, if you have binoculars, it's not that easy to spot. Like Tycho is a super easy to spot crater. I don't know if I'd count Clavius as one of them.
I mean, Tycho's easy because it's a ray crater, because Clavius is probably like 8 or 10 times the area.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's just, it blends in because there's so many other craters there. I don't know.
It does, yeah.
Could you also show us our other lunar target for this week? So just a heads up for Clavius or whatever, if you do want to see it, you can probably see it in the wax or in the waning phase soon, because the full moon is going to be on Halloween, Saturday. And then it'll be waning and you'll be able to see it on, I would say, Monday or Tuesday. But if you're not staying up late, then the best time to see it would be around November 24th, 25th, 26th. And that'll be right when the Terminator on lunar day 9 or 10 in the next lunar cycle. I have not added that into the Explore the Universe calendar yet, but I will. So if you want to see it, that would be the time.
Yep. Easy one with a telescope, hard with binoculars.
Make your choice.
Yeah. Okay, the other target that you wanted to mention, and I'm going to see if I can do the book thing again, is a sea of vapors. And this is sort of a lunar sea that's sort of on the central meridian of the moon. And you're saying it's Wilma's
eyes.
Wilma's eye. Yeah. So sort of I'm based on memory, I'm thinking it's right above Ptolemaeus, which is that circular crater right in the center that's really smooth. And so right above that.
Okay.
You got a map?
Grabbing my observer's handbook to check.
I have to grab my giant, there's my giant moon map. See if I'm
There you
right.
go. So it all depends on whether or not you see Wilma in the moon, but we have our little moon map. And if you see Wilma as, hold on, you can't do it backwards. There's her hair and her ear, then her eyes are right there. And that's where Mare Vaporum is.
Yeah.
And here comes John with a bigger moon map. So if you
Oh, no, it's a lot higher than.
If you measure your value based on the size of your moon map, John becomes a more valuable person.
Let's not do that now. Yeah, there's Ptolemaeus. This is sort of weird because along this, there's like two sets. So we have Mare Vaporum over here and here because it's designed to be like flipped. So that's what's a little confusing about this map. But yeah, so I think the easiest way to find it would be just in between, Sea of Serenity and Sea of Rain. So Mare Serenitatis, how do you say that?
Serenitatis, I think.
Serenitatis and Mare Imbrium. So like right in between those, or at the base of the Alpinus Mountains, sort of right here. And so that's, you can pick out that little sea. And you've tried this one in binoculars?
I haven't, but you can see it because so I always see the man in the moon that everyone's in North America or Canada or whomever sees when I don't use binoculars. And then when I use binoculars, I can see Wilma. And so Wilma is the giveaway for me. And so I think you'd be able to see it easily in binoculars.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
the
seas are pretty dark. So yeah, cool.
Sweet.
So there's that. Yeah, definitely the way to use these is to always use them as a quarter, not, gloat and pull out go full square.
Go full square.
Yeah. Anyway.
So those are our moon targets for this week. The rest of our targets are like super basic easy because we dove into every single target that we could for spring and summer because we wanted to get as many targets as we can to complete the course. And now that it's winter, I'm just kind of cherry picking the easiest targets for the season to get you going and help you start navigating the winter sky because it is quite different from the summer sky. And so we're talking things like Orion and Taurus and the Pleiades and Orion's Nebula. These are things that no matter where you are, if you're in the city or if you're in the country, you'll be able to see those ones. And so I'm going to share my screen with stellarium on it. Oh, wait, hold on. I was looking at one of the things we want to see tonight. So I will zoom back out.
Yeah, for me, this is like a very disappointing stargazing time of the year because Pegasus is occupying the spot, my optimal stargazing spot. And as we talked about before, there's like nothing there.
Aww.
So it's, the gap in my trees is covered by the nothing.
Stupid constellation.
The great square of nothingness.
Oh, so sad. Yeah. It is a couple things though before we start, actually. I will mention some winter observing tips. First of all, not hooray for the time change, but the time change coming up this weekend does mean that sun sets an hour earlier. So it'll be around 4:45 at its earliest, I think, which is nice because then you can go out at 6 and it's still dark outside and it's like dark enough to observe. So you don't have to stay up late, but you do have to wear 8,000 layers because if you think it's cold during the day, it's even worse at night.
The weird thing, I get so into stargazing and I get cold pretty easy, but when I stargaze, I like don't feel the cold anymore. It's bad. I'm gonna get like hypothermia.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't need gloves.
Yeah, for me, the gloves is always the problem. I can't use my hands in the winter at all, it seems. And so having those extra little hand warmer packet things and having a warm room, like trying to do some observing where there's going to be somewhere with heat or at least out of the wind is really nice as well. Oh, good call. Sorry, it took me a second to see this in the chat, but Warren mentioned that Wilma for them is Lucille Ball, which I also really like because her hair kind of fits in there too. Ooh, and Joanne bought rechargeable warming gloves.
Oh yeah, those I want. Yeah.
Oh, that's like luxury. Oh my goodness, look at all you people with your heated clothing.
I've got the heated jacket now. I got that for graduating.
Oh man.
Nice.
Good for you guys. Oh, I want heated clothes. I don't have heated clothes. It's been snowing up here, so we're definitely in the throes of winter. Yes, and point from Bruce as well that it's better than being eaten by mosquitoes. So that's very true.
Yeah, mosquitoes. Oh, whiskey works is what someone's pointing out.
Yeah, that too. But we're keeping it PG here.
I would worry about because I'm like carrying telescopes up and down stairs, so I feel like that would be dangerous.
That might be dangerous. Yeah,
especially my Dobsonian telescope, like carrying it down a flight of stairs.
I don't think I'd be doing, especially since they're expensive. I don't think I'd risk that. Oh,
Well, I was doing it for work, right?
it's for work. Yeah.
It's for work.
Okay.
Make money at it.
I'm gonna jump us over to stellarium. It is tonight in stellarium, which means the moon's gonna be pretty full. As I mentioned, the full moon is actually on Halloween, which is very spooky. Isn't that lovely? It's also a blue moon. If you're interested in catching a blue moon. Blue moon does not mean it's going to be blue. It means that it's the second moon in a month, second full moon, sorry, in a month, or the fourth full moon in a season.
Or he's doing some winter observing and he's just cold, so he's blue.
Okay, Dad.
Or he's sad because of daylight savings time.
Oh, yeah, that could be it too. With seasonal depressed moon.
That's what we should call it.
Yeah, I would relate to it. So tonight, the sunset is still super early, even without the time change. And we still have the summer triangle up, even though it's going to be November on Sunday. So the summer triangle is still up because the sun is setting earlier. The sky is, if we looked at the sky in the same position every night at 9 p.m., the summer triangle will be setting. But because the sun sets earlier, we're seeing the sky a little bit earlier and we're seeing more of it. So it's still up there. You can still see a lot of the summer targets. For the purposes of tonight and for showing you all the future coming months of observing, I'm going to jump us ahead to midnight. So don't feel you have to stay up tonight until midnight, but this would be what the sky would look like more into earlier in the evening in December. So our first target, which is a nice easy one to start with. I'm sorry, yes, Linda, we aren't in the throes of winter yet. So first of all, this is like one of the most, I think it may be the most, other than maybe the Big Dipper, the most recognizable asterism / constellation, and that's Orion.
Yep. Mainly the belt, though. People don't know
about the rest of it. Yeah. So the belt is really easily identifiable because it's 3 bright stars right in a row. But Orion in general has a lot of bright stars in it, which makes it really easy to spot.
Well, now I see your friend's cow asterism.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. So John and
I can't unsee that now.
No, it's true. I have a hard time finding it.
It's right. It's perfectly he's grazing right there. Yeah.
Like this is his face, right?
That's his face. Yeah.
And that's his front leg. And that's his back.
His back and his leg. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nicaraguan cattle.
What's that?
It's the Nicaraguan cattle constellation.
It's El Toro. So this is actually a fun story from when I went out to visit John last year. We dropped by a friend of mine's house who is half Nicaraguan. And his mom was over and we were talking about constellations in the sky. And he had mentioned that he always remembered the bull constellation. And I was like, oh, Taurus. And he's like, no, it's a cow. It's El Toro. And I was like, okay. So I drew Taurus. I'm like, is it that? And he said, no. And we were looking at Orion. It turns out that the bull constellation he was talking about was a constellation that he or his mother, I can't remember, had made up, which is great. And it makes me so happy. He'd see his mother would talk about the bull jumping through the sky and the cow jumping through the sky. So this was his face, and then his back and his back leg and his front leg here. So they had made up their whole constellation and it made me so happy. And now John and I both, well, John's better at seeing it obviously, but we had this amazing moment in his backyard as we're drawing out all the pictures of constellations and everything. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. But we didn't get to see it until winter because that was the summer. Yeah.
That was in May. Yeah. So the rest of, unfortunately, Toro is not an officially recognized constellation, but it's still officially recognized in my heart.
We can make it official as an asterism.
Petition. Yeah, I guess that's true. You can just make up asterisms. So that part is nice. So everybody start talking about Toro the bull. My friend from New Brunswick would be very happy. So here's the full Orion constellation. So Orion's shoulders are up here. The belt goes across his waist. These sometimes count as his knees or his legs. If we look at the picture, I think he's kneeling, so it's meant to be his knees. And in some cases, he's got a club with an animal. I've seen him more with a sword and a shield. So what have you? He's a hero, et cetera, et cetera. There's a couple of cool things going on in the constellation. I don't have too many tips to find this because it's just so obvious. It's so bright that it's like the first thing that you'll see as soon as it's up. It's also a very recognizable constellation in the first place.
Yep.
The other thing that happened, one of the bright stars probably listed in Explore the Universe is Betelgeuse, which is the star here. That one famously last oh no, I've forgotten about time. Last year?
Yeah, it was pretty much over by COVID time.
Yeah.
It was
So
back
then
to
last
normal.
year,
It was
it
dimming
was,
and dimming and dimming and dimming and
yeah.
dimming. And a lot of the measurements for the American Association of Variable Star Observers were done here in Halifax by Dave Lane
Mhm.
at St. Mary's Observatory. And it was funny because I think he corrected some observation and they got really upset. Anyway,
Did he?
he's like, no, we're just calibrating.
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, that might have been Tabby Star, and I get them mixed
Okay.
up.
Either
But anyway,
way,
it
so
didn't blow up. We're very
it did not.
sad. Some sad astronomers.
And I think the timeline we've been given is around 100,000 years, which is short in
Yeah, that's anything under 1,000,000 years is an explosion in space.
and it's real close. Like that's soon. It's short in geologic time.
Yeah.
But which I
mean,
guess
it won't hurt us. It'll just be bright, and you'll be able to do lots of cool science.
and it's exciting because we haven't seen a supernova in a really long time in our galaxy. We don't see them that often. And when they go supernova, it
Nebula
gets
would have been 1024. It would have been the last
1054.
one. 54?
Yeah, 1054. I used to do talks about that one a lot.
54. Okay.
Yeah, so it basically what happened is the star exploded. It got really bright. You'd see this really bright spot, sometimes brighter than the full moon, and then it would dim over a couple weeks. And that's what we would see with Betelgeuse as well. But we have some time until that happens.
Well, we've got a regular nova coming up in the Crown constellation, Coma Berenices.
Yeah.
So there's an 84-year nova. So not a supernova. Nova is when material dumps on a white dwarf and it puffs up.
Oh.
And so this is a recurring nova. And so in 2026, it will go nova for 3 hours. And so it'll be one of the brightest stars in the sky.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh, good to know. I didn't know about
nova
that.
and then supernova.
Mm-hmm. Supernova is much more rare, I would guess.
Yeah, supernova is 1 per century, and novas are, I don't know, they're on schedule.
So this is the constellation, easy to find. We have a cool item in here, which I'll point out now as well. This one is the Orion Nebula. It's also on the list for Explore the Universe. And I can confirm that you can see this in Toronto. If you have the right view, you might have to get away from some of the city lights, and going to like one of the bigger parks like Sunnybrook or into near the ravines will really help because there'll be fewer lights. But the Orion Nebula, if we look, I'm going to turn off the lines for a second. If you look for Orion's belt, it's the sword, it's the scabbard, whatever you want to call it, that hangs down from Orion's belt. And so if we zoom in, turns out they look like 3 stars usually. But if you look closer, the middle star is actually this giant nebula here.
Yeah, even from Halifax, I can see the smudge with no telescope.
Yeah, you can even see it without binoculars if I'd recommend binoculars. It looks really cool in binoculars.
Yeah, much better. But I mean, without it, it's not a point source of light.
Yeah, it looks like fuzz. Yeah. So this is one of the coolest and easiest targets to find because it's in a super famous constellation and it's really, really bright. I'm not sure if we can get an idea of the surface brightness. Let's see, I'm 42. Hey, there we go. So surface brightness is, like magnitude 4. So it's still, I say it's super bright, but like you can see magnitude 4 stars in the city, which is why it's so exciting. So that's a really, really cool and very exciting target for the fall, winter. And then our next 2 targets, I'm gonna show you a trick for finding them. I'm going to move us later into the evening, so this is higher up in the sky, just so that we can look at it the way we normally would when we're stargazing with our heads back. So in this case, we have Orion here, and we're going to make an arrow with his top 2 shoulders and the first star in his belt, and that'll point directly to the super bright star here. And then if you follow it onwards, it'll point to another object over here. This big long line, essentially. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for hand measurements, it's about from your thumb to your pinky when you do the stop sign at full arm's length. So pretty far, but it's the only bright star that's in that area anyway. And what you'll see here is this little V shape with, I believe these stars are also part of it.
Yeah, so the V is an asterism by itself. So it'd be the V in Taurus.
Okay, cool. Yeah. John revealed it. This is Taurus.
Well, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
giddy with. I'm just like, just say it.
Is Taurus.
I can't
I'm
take
bad
it
at revealing
anymore.
stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Yep, so we have this little V, and that little V ends up being the horns of Taurus. So if you want to see the picture of the bull, that's his horns there. And this bright star here is Aldebaran or Aldebaran, depends on who you ask. And it is the eye of Taurus. John, you were going to say?
So are you talking about the Hades here? With
I wasn't going
binoculars?
to,
Is
but
that
you
a target?
can.
Yeah.
No, I was going to talk about a double star. There's a double star in Taurus.
Oh, yeah. So is the double star on the list. I think Hades. So the Hades is an open cluster, just like the Pleiades.
Oh, is that this whole thing here?
And that, yeah. So the V with binoculars has a ton of stars in it, and that's because it's actually an open cluster. Now the open cluster is in the background behind Aldebaran. So Aldebaran is quite close at, I don't know what the distance is.
Let's find it.
66 light years. But if you click on any of those other stars, it should give you a distance.
188.
Yeah, so they're quite a bit. They're 3 times further away. But it's cool, cluster to check off your list. A lot of stars in there with binoculars.
This is another one that's actually better probably with binoculars than it is than it is with the telescope, because let's bring up the binocular field of view.
Yeah, it's just huge.
So it takes up an entire field of view in binoculars. So if you had a telescope field of view, it would be too small to see this. So definitely a good target for binoculars. Once you get this close, it's kind of hard to see where the V is. It goes like this. But the double star that I was going to point you towards, which is Theta Tau or Theta Taurus, is just to the west or to the right of Aldebaran, and it's to the right by about a degree or a degree and a half. So about a finger width, maybe one of your bigger fingers.
Yep, 2 full moons.
2 full moons, and it's these 2 little fellas here. They are Theta Tau 1 and Theta Tau 2. So those are the double stars that we're looking at. This is our last double star. I heard from one of the folks who is doing our program, and John's like, thank goodness.
I like that one though. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a nice one. And I heard from from Heather, who's doing the program and who I know is here today. Hi, Heather. That she'd kind of just forgotten about the double stars, and I kind of feel that sometimes you just kind of forget to do them because they're harder to. I find they're one of the harder ones to find or to remember where they are, because they're not unique from everything else. Like if you're looking for the Andromeda Galaxy, of course you're going to find the Andromeda Galaxy. It's giant and fuzzy. But if you're looking for,
it has to do with how you do your observing though too, because for me, and I think a lot of people, we watch the show and then we go out and observe from memory. We're like, okay, I remember the Pleiades and Taurus and Hades and all this stuff. So, and then you jot them down, but you're not gonna. It's harder to remember the double stars.
Because you look at this and you go, well, any of these could be the double star, in stellarium, and me going, yes, it's this one. You go, oh yeah, sure, I'll remember that. But I don't know. I find they're just not that memorable. They're just like, yeah, they're stars that happen to be close together. So maybe that's part of the problem with having them in the program. But regardless, try to remember this one because we've talked about how hard they are to remember this time. From Joanne, there's a question.
Double stars and Orion's sword. So there's the famous sort of double thing going on there is called the trapezium. So if you zoom in the center of the Orion Nebula, there are 4 stars in a cluster. You might have to bring the star brightness down in your options.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
So just sky and viewing options, sky, and then bring your absolute scale down to like 0.5.
There we go.
And you'll see them.
Yeah. There we go. Beckland star. Hold on,
yeah. So those 4 there are sort of, that's your, I would say, the telescope target to look for.
So interesting. These are not only, so this is Theta 1 and then there's Theta 2, I assume. Theta 2 there, yeah. And then within Theta 1, then there's 4. There's Theta 1, A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's sort of the target du jour in Orion.
Target du jour.
Yeah.
So there you go. Ooh. Okay, it went a little bit farther. All right, there you go. Question answered. I did notice there was another question there. Done. we will talk about how to submit observations and stuff like that at the end of the session. So we'll go through that all in a few minutes, I swear. For now, I'm just going to finish up the targets that we have on our list. So we have that double star and Taurus, and then the next object that's out here is part of the Taurus constellation, and it's that object where when I said, get out of here.
It's the Little Dipper, right?
It's the Little Dipper, because we already have a Little Dipper, so it's like a little baby dipper. So if you use that trick of grabbing Orion's shoulders and his belt, pointing up at Taurus, and then the next object along will be this itty bitty baby dipper. This is the Pleiades, and it's also known as the Seven Sisters. There are actually, when you say that, there are actually only really 6 visible stars in the Pleiades that you can really pick out with your own eyes. And you might notice that it looks like the Subaru logo. Mm-hmm. And it does. That's where Subaru got their logo from. I think
the name of it is Subaru in Japan.
In Japanese. Yeah. So if you're looking for some copyright infringement, this is where it's at.
I don't think there's any copyright on space.
No, you can do whatever you want with the asterisms. But I will attest to this being one of the most beautiful binocular targets I've ever seen. It's gorgeous. It's just so sparkly. It looks like, I don't know, it just looks like a kaleidoscope. Like, it's just so pretty. So it's got, they're relatively new. It's an open cluster, and it's only about 200 million years old, 150 million years old, something like that. So actually, at a time, the dinosaurs would not have been able to see this because it wouldn't have formed yet, which is kind of cool.
I guess it depends on the dinosaur.
It does, because some dinosaurs would also have been blown up by an asteroid.
Well, isn't Stegosaurus, like T-Rex is closer to us than Stegosaurus?
Something like that, yeah. I'm more in touch with how close the Egyptian pyramids are to us versus Cleopatra, but either way. Oh, a basket of diamonds. That's a really nice way to put it too.
It's cool, yeah.
So
but you can't see the wispiness, I don't think.
Not as much, but
yeah.
I think, like, I felt like I could see it, but I'm also in a really dark spot, so I'm not sure. The wispiness, though, this is all leftover dust from when the stars formed, so there is some of this dust kind of floating around as well. I will also add that Halloween and pagan celebrations had a lot to do with, why am I not moving? There we go. Had a lot to do with the Pleiades rising at a certain time as well. So on what was the day that inspired Halloween, the Pleiades would rise right at sunset. So they were at the anti-solar point, or like the point opposite the sun.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, except they were using a different calendar. And so I think it's shifted by 2 weeks. So the date that they are actually at the anti-solar point is 2 weeks later, I think, because that was the day at the time they were celebrating it. So yeah, pretty cool. It's starting to become a really visible target soon, which is great.
Yep, can't miss it.
Can't miss it.
But don't confuse it for the Little Dipper. It's not the Little Dipper.
No, it is not. It just looks like a Little Dipper, which is kind of cool. I'm just gonna check. I think that's all our targets for this week. We really don't have that many. If you have any ones that you want to go over, add them into the chat and we'll take a look. I'm just gonna double check. Yeah, that's everything. So we have the Pleiades, M42, which is the Orion Nebula, Theta Taurus, Orion, and Vaporum, and then thrown in with clavius or clavius. So we are. That's it. Our last target is the Pleiades.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to dive into winter stuff, one of my latest videos was on the winter hexagon. And so we can see that and so there's lots of stuff to explore there, starting with Capella up at the top, and then Pollux, and then Procyon. Yeah. There's
a lot of really nice winter
and so it's
stuff.
A way to sort of get to know that part of the sky right there. So we can see all 6 stars there. Right in the hexagon.
They're up here somewhere. I'm really bad at. There, this thing, right?
Yeah. Well, no. The top one there is Capella. Here, I would need to take control. Can I control?
There you go. Here, I drew pictures. That's Castor Pollux, the twins.
Here.
That's
control.
Fine.
Do I have control?
Yeah, you do.
See me? Okay. Yeah. So here's Capella. So it's a hexagon between Capella, Pollux, Procyon.
I can't see you doing
Sirius.
That. So if you have if you have control of the screen, try moving it. There you are. You have to, there you go.
Can you see the mouse yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the winter hexagon is, I'm going to screw this up now. Capella, Pollux, Procyon, Sirius, Rigel,
yeah.
Aldebaran, and back. And some people call it the big G, so they'll go Capella, Pollux, Procyon, Sirius, Rigel, and then they'll scoot up and grab either Betelgeuse or the belt.
Basically a giant Google logo.
G. Yeah, trademark. That's been trademarked. Can't use it.
You can't even look at it in the sky.
Yeah. So that's sort of, those are your winter constellations right here. Yeah.
They're fun to get to know, and you'll see them coming up a little bit more soon. I'm gonna stop making you stop. I don't know how to stop.
Take back control. Take it back. Give up control. There we go.
Did you give up control? I don't know how to do that. I really shouldn't have allowed you to take it over.
I behaved. It was good.
Thank you for not destroying everything. So those are your winter constellations. I find, for some reason, I find Gemini really easy to find. Or rather, I always accidentally stumble on it and go, I wonder what that is. And finally, I figured out that it's Gemini. Just because you see these, like, you have the shoulders of Orion, and then you see double stars here, and then you see double stars here, and it just looks like a lot of sets of double stars almost. Like, when I say double stars, they're not close together. They're a hand width apart, but it looks like a pattern to me. And so my human brain is like, ooh, easy to find. So I always find Gemini a little bit easier to find. And as you get later into the night, you'll start to see, or closer to the winter, you'll see the brightest star, which is Sirius, and that's in Canis Major, which I've had some people, okay, so this looks like a dog, but the constellation drawing that I've seen of this, I've had people say it looks like a penguin. Regardless, it's the dog, and it's the star here is the brightest one. Yep. And that's it.
So should we talk observing, and how do we get our certificates? How do we get our certificates?
Okay, so
what do we win? Do we get $1 million? What
do we win? Okay, quickly hold on, there are a couple questions from Marie-Claude. Can orbital motion be done with any foreground object / background groups of stars? I think so. So like if you're looking at doing the moon, Dave Chapman, if you know, please.
So what's the question? Can you compute orbits?
Can you like get your orbital motion by looking at any foreground object?
Your orbital motion certificate.
Yeah, because usually I would say planets, yes, but I don't know about like, would Neowise count? Because we saw it moving.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna wait for Dave Chapman should be in the chat. So Dave, you know the answer? Please.
Do I win? I've seen Sirius move.
Have you really?
Yep.
How does that work?
I looked at 2 Chandra observations.
Okay, well that hardly counts.
It has one of the fastest transverse. It moved like 8 arc seconds between my 2 observations. 8 years apart. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
not orbital motion.
That's not orbital motion. That's just relative motion of background stars. So I don't know if that wouldn't count. And also, you didn't make those observations. You didn't operate the Chandra telescope, did you?
No, that's kind of complicated. Yeah.
I would say, Marie-Claude, I am ready to be told off by Dave at any point, but I would say yes, like anything that orbits something counts. So I would say that the moon orbiting the Earth counts, and that the planets orbiting the sun also counts. So I would say yes.
Sirius B orbiting Sirius A.
Oh no, I don't know, John. I don't know.
Mic drop.
Oh, get out of here. I'll kick you out of this conference.
It moved. I saw it moved.
Karthika's question, or Karthika, I'm not sure, I'm sorry, about regarding certification, when and where should we submit the observations? So you can submit observations if you are a member at one of our centers. You can, okay. Sorry, before I jump into that, an anonymous attendee who I can only assume is Dave said orbital motion would normally be any solar system object against background stars. So we can assume that is Dave, I hope.
Yeah, it says Dave. It says Dave on mine.
Oh, it says anonymous attendee for me. Dave, are you hiding? Yeah. Anyway, yes. So where you can submit the certification, You can submit certifications either to Blair Stunder, who is the chair of the observing committee, or Dave Chapman, who is also on the observing committee and is really interested in learning this stuff. I will share their emails in the chat, although I'm pretty sure there's a website, which I should have already brought up. And I will also quickly go over what you need to send in. While I'm vamping and finding the page where you do submit these things, I wanted to congratulate Lisa Ann Fanning, who's already submitted her application for her observing certificate. Yay! She's the first person to accomplish to finish from following this program. First person to get their Explore the Universe certificate. So congratulations to Lisa. And she also did just a ton of detailed work. So with all of her submissions. Okay.
Really awesome.
It was so awesome. I don't actually see, I don't see where their emails are. So John, do you know where the emails are?
Oh, Lisa's emails?
No.
Emails.
Blair, I feel like there's a general Blair, like observing at rask.ca or something like that.
Oh, I don't have any.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll keep looking. Perhaps Dave can jump in with the,
Is Dave going to sign on? Is he going to
he's here. He is here.
Oh, he is here.
Yeah, he's one of the panelists or participants, sorry. So if we can bring him up if necessary. Dave says he would especially welcome applications based on using John's book because he is familiar with it. So if you're going to apply to the program, send them to Dave. If you've used John's book, and if you've used the Rask book or any other book, you can send them to Blair instead. Dave, if you can post the contact information for that, I would be very, very grateful. There we go, observing at rask.ca. Awesome, thank you. I will also add that things to include in your application are your observations. So while you've tracked your observations, that would include things like what it must contain is the time and the date of the observation, where you saw it, so where you were observing at the time, and what you used to observe it. So binoculars, eyeballs, telescope, and then some sort of description of what you observed. If you would like, that description can be a drawing. If you didn't want to draw, you can also just say words or write words. Heather mentioned as well, if you are a member at a center, or if you if you are a Rask member and you are part of a center within the society, you can go to your center's chair. And that is a list, hold on. Here. So here are the centers that participate in the program and who to reach out to. If you can't find their email address or you need help, let me know and I can connect you. So it's just that date, time, location, observing tool, and what it is that you are looking at is all that you need to include. You can include extra stuff if you want to. Photos don't count. So if you did take pictures, that won't count.
But acrylic on canvas is highly recommended.
Yes, you need actually like at least paintings valued at $1,200 or more, you get an extra little bump.
Yeah,
no.
framed or not framed, it's okay.
Okay, Dave says, if you're using John's book, it would be helpful to indicate on the application the relevant page number in the book that the observation is recorded in. So if you do have an index or like somewhere where you've written down where each of your observations is, that's welcomed by the observing committee because it lightens their workload a little bit. So an index would be great. You can either scan or take pictures of your logbook. So I think logbooks are pictures are easier because everyone has a phone. So just like set it up, take a picture of each page, and then send it on over for confirmation. Then once it's confirmed and the observing committee has checked it all, we'll send you a certificate and a pin. And then you'll be part of the team that has their...
Oh, then you'll have swag.
What's that?
You'll have Rask swag.
Oh yeah, you'll have Rask swag, which that is something you should base your personal value on. And thank you, Bruce, for commenting, saying that you're impressed with my ability or my confidence building in Stellarium over the time. It has been quite the adventure learning a lot of this alongside everybody. Okay, so Karthika, I hope that answers all of those questions for you. Let me just check anything else that's last notes from all that. I think that's everything. The only other things I'll mention is that and I don't do this too often, but if we have anyone here who's not a Rask member and you'd like to join, we would welcome your company. If you ever want to join the Rask, it is, I mean, we're basically just a community of nerds, like we are here chatting with everybody that's been joining for the series. We're really thankful for everyone who's joined in the series and who's joined us on these adventures. It's been a blast. And if you want to keep coming back to these sorts of things and you want to keep engaging with all the astronomers that you've met through the program, through the internet, all that sort of stuff, please do join.
And it doesn't matter where you're from in the whole world, you know, and what's so cool about, you know, the upside to the COVID stuff is that there's so much more online now. So the meetings are online. And so if you don't live in the area, you know, you can tune in to all this cool content that Jenna and the team and the local centers are creating, because they do such an amazing job. Very underappreciated.
No, we're just happy to be interacting with folks again. And it's really nice to build a community in a time where building a community is particularly hard. So it's been lovely interacting with all of you. If there's a center in particular that you feel deserves your support, so for example, John was the one who brought Lisa, who got her certificate, into the loop because she knew him as an author. And so John was like, hey, I'm doing this course, come and watch. And she's from New Jersey, but there she is. Thanks, Lisa. She joined Halifax Center. You don't have to be close to the center, especially in this virtual world, to join it if you want to. And we also do have a national membership if you don't want to join a specific center and you just want to support the nationwide efforts, that sort of stuff. Thank you all for all of your support and your kind words and everything. I have a survey that is ready to go out at the end of this, which just basically is asking you how far along in the program you got and whether or not you liked it. And we will be running another course in March, hopefully. So, and that in that case will be more on the moon. So we will be doing more observing programs. And so keep those telescopes cozy and safe all winter long. If you're going to observe, go out and get her done. I'm going to be staying inside. And I look forward to crawling out of hibernation with all of you in March to come back to observing again.
Absolutely. That will be so much fun.
It's going to be so good. Yeah, spring when the leaves are coming out again. I know we have an entire season to get through before that, but you know what? I'm just very excited for it. Well, and then we have one last question, which I almost missed from Janine, who's been with us this whole journey as well. So thank you so much. It's been so great getting to know everyone. Before the end of the last session, can John and I tell us what you enjoyed most and what was most challenging? John, do you want to go first?
Oh, what was most challenging about us observing or hosting or what?
I would guess hosting. I think hosting and getting the program going.
Well, I don't know if anyone knows this, but I think the workload that Jenna puts in is about 100 times what I put in. You know, she just makes it so easy for me to just show up and pretend to be cool that
you know what you're doing. You know all the moon stuff. You're pulling the moon side of things.
Yeah, but Jenna coordinates it all. So that's been really impressive. And you know, she's the host, and I feel like I'm just the goofy guest. Or like if you listen to Star Talk Radio, Neil deGrasse Tyson like has this comedian on, and sometimes they're not very good. I'm like, well, that's me.
No, you're great. Stop downplaying yourself.
Yeah, the hardest part. Yeah. So I actually tried to observe some of the stuff, and I think, you know, being diligent about it is tough, and not going right for the camera phone and trying to take pictures all night, or, you know, and just learning to step back and appreciate the night sky, I think is a challenge for me, and not just thinking about it as work.
Yeah, I have that same problem as well. That I tend to think about it as work, which is a bit damaging because it's not the point. The point is to have fun.
Yeah.
So that part's quite hard. I do want to show you though. So I would say that the hardest part for me was planning the whole thing, because it took me like a good solid couple weeks of getting everything right. But I wanted to show you my spreadsheet because
oh my gosh,
it's the last one. This is my spreadsheet of all of the targets and all of the Zoom registration links and when they're going to be visible and other things that we can talk about, and making sure that we saw everything, and copy for all the posts. So this is where all of the information sits, and then all of the how to find the targets sits in this one, and how long they're visible. So this was my baby. I'm so proud of it.
Look at that amount of crazy diligence that went into making this as awesome as I think people found it.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you all enjoyed it and you enjoyed the effort that went in. There is nothing that gets you to know the sky faster than planning a 10 or 20 week long course for everyone else. So I recommend it.
Yeah, and then when it's done, you guys can go out, take your telescopes out, or your binoculars, and have sidewalk star parties, and you will be sharing all this stuff. And then that is the biggest rush of all, is sharing with other people and listening to them say wow, and blow their minds with views of the craters and the moon and Saturn and all that fun stuff. So
I definitely recommend that if you get the chance now, with all this knowledge that you've got in your brains, go out and share it with people. Because that's the joy. That's the part that's really satisfying.
Yep.
Thank you, John, for all of your co-hosting, all of your dad jokes, and for all of your help throughout this whole project.
Absolutely. This was an absolute blast. It totally made my year, I'd have to say.
Yay! Yeah. And I'm so glad that you've all enjoyed it. If you have any other feedback, please do just let us know. If you absolutely hated it, please let us know that too.
then why did you just watch 10 hours of it?
How did you get to the last episode? So we'll see you all. We'll keep posting in our newsletter about when we have our next observing programs running, and that should be around March. And so we'll see you all then. I hope you have a wonderful winter season of observing.